Hello, everybody. This is Sean Fitzgerald of Fits of Writing, author of Bleeding the Divine, which is available on Kindle Unlimited, paperback, and audiobook format, narrated by J.D. Trefny. Look him up if you're a writer looking for an audiobook narrator. I'm sure he'd love to talk to you. Tonight, the interview is going to feature author David Barrett and his new book, Lamplight. It's the first in what he plans to make a series, a trilogy, I believe. Well, why don't we go check that out? All right, I'm here with author David Barrett. He wants to talk about his new release, Lamplight, which you called a alternate fiction fantasy the last time that we spoke. David, tell everybody about yourself a little bit and kind of how everything's been for you as a writer so far.
Well, I'm basically just your normal guy, you know, aspirations and dreams, but working at the grind, trying to make money to pay bills, but, you know, on my free time, instead of going out and hanging out with people and having fun, I just sit at home and write. I mean, I think it's fun, don't get me wrong. I definitely enjoy it, so it's one of my passions. I've been doing it for a couple of years now. This is my first book I'm releasing. It's been out probably for a good 5 or 6 months now. And I've seen, you know, a few decent sales and things like that, and I enjoy doing it. You know, one of my favorite parts about writing is when somebody actually reads my stuff, and I get to talk to them about it, because I'm just as excited to talk about it as the person is. I mean, honestly, half the time I don't even remember everything I put in the book. And they're like, hey, you remember this part? I'm like, yeah, I do.
Tell me more, please. I got you there.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite parts.
You had mentioned that it's an audiobook format too now, right?
It is. It's by this wonderful gentleman named Matt Taylor. He's British. I thought it was very fitting because the book is based in 1888 in England, so, you know, if you're going to do a story with, you know, English people in it, might as well be from England. I mean, only made sense to me.
Right. No, I think it would probably be awkward with a different accent. Well, tell everybody a little bit about Lamplight, what writing it was like. How long have you been working on it?
So I originally started it in beginning of 2019, and it took about a year to get the, I want to say like 3/4 of it, maybe like 90% of it. And then I went through a couple of editing phases, a couple like queryings, had beta readers, and then eventually when I went back and finally edited it for the last time, which was probably mid 2021, I finally was able to get it pretty good squared away with, and I think while I was editing it myself, I ended up adding quite a bit of words, quite a bit more words to it, more content. I added, you know, more descriptions. I added a few more bits and bobs, and I mean, if aspirations, you know, if there's an inspiring writer out there, make sure you got like your final product, you know, good to go, because I had a few attempts at it, and like, you learn along the way. You really learn a lot. When you think it's done, it's not done. Go talk to somebody, have somebody read it, get 3 different opinions, and then add more to it. It's never done. And then when you finally like actually have it done, published, don't really, if you can help it, don't go back and mess with it again, because you're always going to want to change something. I mean, I'm sure you've probably felt that way about things. It's just like, man, I really wish I would have done that. But, you know, sometimes it just has to be the way it is.
You do need to cut the cord at some point.
Yeah.
It definitely helps to walk away from it after a little while and just be like, and just say to yourself, yeah, it's over. And if there's something that I learned from it, I'm going to take care of it on the next go around. And yeah. And your Lamplight is the first in a series, isn't it?
It is. It's the first in a trilogy. Lamplight. The second one is Searchlight, which is coming out in a month and a half, hopefully 2 months. It's going to be paperback, hardcover, audiobook, digital, just like the first. And, you know, it's been an exciting journey. So the first book is speculative fiction. It's based in 1888 with, you know, there's Jack the Ripper, there's, you know, King Arthur, you know, there's Nikola Tesla. There's just a ton of really interesting, odd things you wouldn't think would fit well together, but they do. At least that's what people have told me. You know, if it would have sucked, somebody would have said, "Hey, this is horrible."
Right. Nobody ever wants to hear that.
No.
I personally, I haven't really found a whole lot of animosity, and I haven't spoken to a whole lot of people that have. So thankfully, it doesn't seem to be that prevalent of a thing for people to do, to just get up there and dog somebody who's out there trying something for their first time. Tell everybody about your process of how it was writing. I'm kind of trying to keep track as I go about with these interviews between the people who outline and the people who just kind of go at it and see what happens. Which one of those categories do you fall in?
A little bit of both. So for the most part, I'm a pantser. I believe this is the term, correct?
Yeah.
And then the other one's planner. So I'm a pantser, so I fly by the seat of my pants. Except, normally I'll have the end in mind, and I'll write the ending, and then I'll write the beginning. So if I ever need to change the ending when I get to it, I will, but I usually start with writing the ending or where I want to be, and then I start from the beginning. And then I know I have like these key points that I want to include throughout. But for the most part, honestly, one of the best things I ever read was, it was a meme, of course. That's life is all about memes. I mean, come on, that's everything. So it was basically in a writing group, and the meme basically said that they don't write what their characters do. They just follow behind and clean up the mess, basically.
That makes sense.
They don't. I mean, honestly, when I'm writing, I have these ideas of where I want to go, but I just kind of go with it. I write it, and I'm like, yeah, that seems like something this character would do. And she's like, okay, yeah, that was weird. I wouldn't do that, but he obviously would.
Well,
just kind of things like that.
What do you do when you hit a snag if something that your character's doing it doesn't help you get to one of these key points that you're talking about?
Luckily, I've never really run into a situation where I had to like go back and delete what I wrote and then rewrite it and re-add. I have hit snags to where I had to like stop and I struggled to kind of come up with what I needed to next. I know they say the best advice you can give somebody that happens to is stop with that part, write a note of what you want to happen, and then take up where you think you can after that little snippet. I haven't ever done that because I kind of feel like if I do that, I'll just kind of feel bothered that I have to go back and add something later, if that makes sense.
I just read that bit of advice the other day and I hated it. Because it's happened to me, and I'm a heavy outliner. Like, I like to do it bullet point by bullet point, as detailed as I can. And even then, with Bleeding the Divine, I hit a point where I didn't know if something was happening that I felt like it was a bit too ex machina, and I had seen that advice or whatever, and I was like, I could jump back over, but I know that what'll happen is I'll come back here and I'll be like, I still don't know anything. So I really wallowed over it I'm just gonna publish it like this. Something happened.
Just like ellipsis, something happened, and a few hours later
it was fine.
No, I've had situations like that arise where like it just doesn't flow as naturally as it did, and I rack my brain, and sometimes it takes a day, sometimes it takes a week, but I'll stop writing until I figure it out. And I don't like doing that, but I'm a fix it right then and there, not fix it later kind of person. So I want to fix it right then and there. I want to make sure I know what I'm doing, and like I'll write some stuff and I'll write it out and I'm like, wow, I came up with that. That's kind of cool, you know. I don't know if you've ever run into that kind of situation.
When it takes a big struggle, it feels a little bit less like you did it at the end. I wound up with the part I got stuck on. I had 3 different options of what I was going to do next, and I actually just called a friend, and I told him, I didn't ask, pretty much, and I didn't ask permission or anything. I just said, hey, here's what's happening right now, and here's where everything's at. Do you do this, or do you do this? And I just basically listened to what he said as he considered it, and then I was like, I'm pretty sure I said, okay, I don't like that at all. I'm going to go this way. And I was pretty sure about it afterwards. But it helped me, like, zero in on which one of my options I like the best.
I mean, normally what I feel like ends up happening is even when you ask for advice, you just go with your gut anyways. I mean, because when I've always taken advice from people when I was writing, and it was like, and they told me something like it was a good idea, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that because it's not my idea. I don't want to write that. But then it's just like, man, that was such a good idea, and I can't use it now.
I understand how that feels. I guess that would probably be why I preemptively came up with a few ideas. The importance was why they picked, and if I didn't like that reasoning, if I didn't feel like it was right for the story, then it helped me brush that one off the table. And I would probably do that again, at least come up with a couple of different options and get some different eyes on it, even if it's to help me eliminate.
Oh yeah, definitely. Because I mean, ultimately, you're writing for other people. Technically, I mean, ultimately, I'm going to choose what I want to choose because it's my book. But you know how it goes.
Oh, I do. You're not wrong there. Well, so you said that your process is pantsing more or less, aside from a few key bullet points. Regarding bullet points, what would you say, if there is anything, what is an overarching theme, moral of the story, or at least just something, a question or a concept that you want readers to be considering while they're looking over your book?
Basically, my overarching theme, I think I was going with, was sometimes, regardless of what needs to happen or how it got to that point, you have to just do what you need to do and get it done. I mean, sometimes if it doesn't seem like there's anybody else to do it, you just get it done. Sometimes if, you know, you didn't want to be in that situation, sucks, you're in it now. You're going to have to just do what you can. Do it to the best of your ability. And, I mean, I know it's cheesy, but, I mean, you know, just try your best. Situations happen where you don't want to have to deal with it, but that's life. So you just, you know, roll with the punches.
I'm a pretty big fan of that message, just on a personal level, so I couldn't argue anything against that. I wouldn't really call it cheesy. Regarding that and the overall themes and the way you've written the book, what kind of responses have you gotten from it so far?
I don't really know if anybody's really, like, gotten the message I wanted to, like, put out there, to be honest. I mean, I think people just kind of enjoy it for what it is. I don't know if a ton of people nowadays look for deep meaning in books, to be honest. I think a lot of people nowadays are just kind of reading it for the story. And, I mean, there's a demographic that looks for in-depth meanings, definitely. But I feel like for the most part, society has gotten to the point where it's, you know, ooh, shiny. Not, wow, why is it shiny?
You know, I'd honestly would have to slightly
society down to just shiny things.
Yeah, I'd have to disagree with you though a little bit because you know, there are a lot of I listen to a lot of YouTube channels that go over the you know, Frank Herbert's Dune series, a lot of the symbolism and the questions that are asked by certain sci-fi novels like The Three-Body Problem and ones like that. And I'm sure that there are plenty others out there that I don't know about yet that are in fantasy also that ask the question. And I think that maybe we just need to make sure that we're getting people out there and letting them know that there should be something they consider. I think maybe the world might be worried that authors aren't considering that anymore. So I'm glad that you do have a moral of the story, and hopefully when people watch this and they go and read your book, read his book. Everyone.
Exactly.
Right, please.
Exactly. Thank you.
Yeah, no, they should, and I think it would be good exercise for everybody to take a look at everything and kind of ask them how it made them feel and when they would consider a story like yours in some kind of trial or tribulation. And that's with everybody that I've interviewed so far. Everybody's saying something, whether they know what it is or not. And I think that that's something that would be good for everybody to ponder over after they get done digesting it. So
I think the only reason why I say that I think there's a lot of people out there that don't really look for meaning in books, because I feel like there's a lot of fiction, well, just, substance, written substance in general, that for the most part doesn't really have a meaning. I feel like with so many more people in the world and so many more people, I feel like there's so much that somebody can ingest to say, like, whether it be reading, watching, listening, that sometimes people aren't looking for meanings because they just want to enjoy the story, which I'm not really getting down on people about, because, I'll watch something just because I was like, wow, that was cool. Hey, I like shiny things too.
Shiny things are pretty awesome.
It's just...
Okay, David, I want to play Read the F***ing Book with you. Okay, so the main character's name is Davy, right?
Yep, Davy.
Okay. Tell us what Davy's doing at the very beginning of the book.
He is a night watchman, a sparker. So basically he works as a sparker for TEA, the Tesla Electric Association. T, because it's England, T,
And in your speculative fiction novel, Tesla has moved to Britain after...
England. Yep. After he was wronged by Thomas Edison, correct.
Right.
In real life, he stayed in the U.S. and started his own business. But in my book, I basically have him just go to Britain and start implementing wireless electricity to the streets of London. So that's why Davy is a sparker, because with Nikola's wireless electricity technology, they no longer use oil lamps for the most part. Some outlier areas and small towns still use oil lamps because the Tesla coil substations aren't built in those areas. So he's a sparker and night watchman.
Okay. And what other big changes have happened? I know that we're in 1888. Where is Jack the Ripper in all of this?
So he is in England in 1888, like you just said. And basically, conveniently, Davy, we find out within the first couple chapters, is also a undercover policeman. And, eventually he has to end up dealing with, Jack the Ripper, because if you're going to write a book in 1888, you can't not include Jack the Ripper. Come on.
Yeah. How did he wind up, remind me again how he wound up finding Excalibur?
Oh, so as he's going around screwing in the light bulbs and things of that nature, he gets stopped by a scraggly, curmudgeon-y old dude that is dragging a horse-drawn cart behind him and basically says, hey, you going to help me take this trunk off my cart? And Davy's like, all right, okay, I guess I'll help. And basically the old guy's like, here, this is your problem now. He's like, me or the museum? And the old guy's like, the museum, of course.
So Davy has this trunk. It's basically kind of just tossed at his feet, metaphorically. And he decides to go into it, and inside he finds Excalibur.
Correct.
And the sword reacts to him in some way.
Correct. So, basically, we learn that the sword holds, I think it's like 1,300 years worth of memories of all the past descendants. And then he's just, dealing with all of this new knowledge in his head while understanding that he needs to fight the good fight and defeat this nemesis of King Arthur.
Okay. What is the first thing that happens to him after he finds the sword that's leading him towards this King Arthur's nemesis who's somehow still around?
Well, he ends up understanding that now he needs to go talk to a gentleman named... Well, actually, he doesn't know the name of the guy yet. I suppose I'll tell you about that part, too. So, basically, he knows that he needs to go to a certain church. And when he gets there, he says, "Hey, I just got this sword. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Help me."
Please.
Like I said, the writing is a little better than what I'm saying.
I've listened to a little bit of the audiobook. I don't want this to hurt your feelings, but it's more than a little better than how...
It's a lot better. Just go listen to the audiobook.
Okay, so he's meeting up with people. Where does Nikola Tesla get involved in, though? Is he a major player in your story? Is he somebody who is basically a stepping stone towards the greater plot? Where's he lie?
So you meet him like 2/3 of the way through the book, and he plays a major part in the second book.
Okay. And throughout all of these events that are going on, as he's meeting the people and he's finding out what's going on with everything and what he has to do to try to stop this antagonistic force, what is being thrown at him? Is it people? Is it monsters of some fantastical variety?
Well, see, I feel like you just need to read the f***ing book.
Read the f***ing book. Okay. Well, David, if people do want to read your book, where is the best places they can find it?
For audio, it's on Audible. I believe you can get off of iTunes, if it's even called iTunes anymore. I don't really know what they call it anymore. I think it's just like Apple Store. And then for physical, you can do Amazon, you can do BarnesandNoble.com. If you want to travel all the way up to Madison, Wisconsin and go to Easttown Mall, there's a Barnes & Noble there that has physical copies, because that's in my local area that I live in. I'm not going to tell you where exactly I live, but they're signed. If you really want to go make that drive, there's signed copies there. So you can do like Amazon and stuff like that. And then if you want to get one directly from me, like signed, you can get a hold of me on Instagram at @davidbarrett, or email me davidbarrett@gmail.com. Or I believe you can find all of that also on my website. It's fiddlerandshoots.com, FIDDLER and shoots SHOOTS.
Okay, I'll put all of those links in the description below here. Before I let you go, is there anything that you want to say to people who have or will read your book?
Thanks.
The KISS method. Keep it simple. I like that. All right. Wise words, strong, powerful, really good stuff.
I like shiny things, and thank you.
Right? We all like shiny things together. Well, David, thanks for your time. I appreciate it. Hopefully get a hold of me whenever you're getting ready to release the second novel in your series, and then we'll do this again and talk a little bit about the new one, all right?
Definitely, I would love that. Thank you.
Absolutely. Have yourself a good night, sir.
You too.
That was my talk with author David Barrett. His book, Lamplight, is available on Kindle Unlimited. There will be a link to purchase his book, as well as all of his social medias and other ways to contact him below in the description. If you enjoyed this interview, please leave it a like. Please subscribe to the channel to see other interviews with authors that you might find yourself interested in reading their work. Hit the notification bell so you are alerted when those videos get posted. I post every Thursday morning. Thanks so much for watching. Have a good night.